Hello everyone, my name is Noah Raven and welcome to the Xander Zone. In today's episode, we'll be diving into the right eye mystery within FNAF storytelling. As you wouldn't believe it if I told you that the right eye in a lot of characters throughout the story actually tells us an important detail you wouldn't begin to expect. So let's lay out this video for you so it's easier for you to follow along. First, I'll give the basis for this theory. This is a short explanation to explain what led me along on this journey and also help you understand the evidence we are bringing up. Next, my special guest Withered Circle will come in to cover both the speculation and sub-evidence sections. The speculation is essentially evidence we thought was interesting to bring up and point out. However, we aren't completely sold if this was intentional or just a coincidence. The sub-evidence is evidence we are pretty confident on, but there's always that chance of it just being a coincidence or us just interpreting it the wrong way. Then I'll hop in with the main evidence. This is evidence we are 100% sure on, though at the end of the day, it's just a theory, so we could still be wrong on this. Though Withered has one more piece of evidence after this to throw your way that makes this theory concrete that I don't think anyone will be expecting. After that, I'll explain the issues with the evidence and try to refute any of those issues if I can. Lastly, Withered and I will come in with our final thoughts on this theory to provide any further evidence we thought to bring up but didn't for whatever reason to tie it all together. Though if you enjoyed this video, hit that like and subscribe button, as we have a goal of 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. While you're at it, comment down below your thoughts, theories, disagreements, or really anything in the whole wide world. Just remember to keep it kind, calm, respectful, and that's just a theory. Now without further ado, let's get right into the video. While writing notes for FNAF 1 and 2, Withered Circle and I came across some peculiar details sprinkled throughout FNAF 1 and 2, with some missing right eyes as a constant pattern throughout these two games. This led us to do another stream with guests in which we looked through the whole series to see where else this appeared, and depending on what we found, what did it mean? Well, we found something that recontextualizes a good chunk of our understanding of the paranormal within FNAF. Join us as we dive into the story The Missing Right Eye tells us about the true struggles of the lost spirits in Five Nights at Freddy's.
Hey everyone, it's Withered Circle, and today I'm here to help Raven decode the true meaning of the weird symbolism surrounding missing right eyes in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. At first, it seems weird, right? Why should such a minor detail matter so much, especially to the amount that it merits an entire theory? Well, as we're about to see, this tiny detail matters a lot. While most of the examples might seem incoherent and meaningless, there's actually quite a few interesting examples of the right eye mystery worth pointing out, and one of them is in FNAF 2, where we see a set of 3 paper pals on a party room wall. These 3 look like Freddy, Bonnie, and possibly Balloon Boy, but I want to call your attention to the Bonnie one. That's right, it's missing an eye. Now, that might not seem like anything noteworthy, but it's worth pointing out that these paper pals aren't simple decorations. Not only do they have their own AI level programmed into FNAF 2's code, but they're also capable of moving on their own. In FNAF 2 and 3, this specific paper pal can seemingly teleport all on its own. This could tie back to that missing eye and black streaks pouring down from Bonnie's eyes, possibly a manifestation of agony or negative emotional energy. But there's more. The prime example I want to bring up is Molten Freddy, final form of the Ennard amalgamation from FNAF's sister location. Notice which one of his eyes is glowing. Now, it's a pretty common belief that Ennard, and thus Molten Freddy, is injected with the spirits of the 1985 missing children in the form of Remnant. This theory is called Molten MCI, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. Although if you're not, I have a video on it, wink wink nudge nudge. Anyway, this glowing eye correlates directly to a hugely important bit of missing children media in this franchise, which I'll bring up in a bit. But let's be real for a second here. Is this actually intentional? Is this a detail that is worth bringing up at all? Well, yes, I think it is, because there are many more examples of this connection that Raven and I will bring up, and by the end of the video, we'll come to a pretty interesting conclusion. Now, it's time to get into some more sub-evidence for this particular theory. Remember that connection between Molten Freddy and the MCI I brought up earlier? Well, here it is. The bad ending screen from FNAF 3, where the shells of the original animatronics have the same eye as Molten Freddy lit up. This symbolizes that their souls haven't moved on and are still present in the physical realm. Molten Freddy is a walking analogy for the MCI souls being unable to move on from their mortal existence, trapped in prisons of Henry Emily's making, now set to new purpose by William. Apart from Molten Freddy, there's some more interesting details worth bringing up related to missing right eyes. In sister location, Ennard is missing his right eye, with it being covered over by the wiring of his face. Ennard is obviously an extremely powerful and highly spiritually active being, with his circuitry being filled with all the remnant from William Afton's Funtime animatronics. But there's more. As we all know, after the events of sister location, Michael Afton has his guts scoped out by Ennard and is used as a skin suit for an extended period of time. We get to see this happen in the cutscenes for sister location's custom night update. Now, notice what happens in this particular cutscene. That's right, Michael loses his right eye. Now, this directly correlates to the actual meaning of the right eye symbolism, but I won't spoil too much of it, as Raven still has quite a few interesting connections to talk about. So with that, I'll give the stage back to Raven for now.
With spirits struggling for control of their vessels, in FNAF 1 there's a rare chance this poster in the West Hall corner can change from Freddy to Freddy trying to rip his head off completely. However, if you look a little bit closer, you'll notice the right eye that should be there is missing completely. However, the left eye is still there perfectly. Now you could say this is shading, which is totally possible, though this would still be a sign of Gabriel wanting out or at least control, but can't gain it, as even in FNAF 1, the MCI are not in control of their suits. Otherwise they just sit at the doors the whole night instead of just leaving after you shut the door for 5 seconds. This happens again with Freddy in FNAF 2, in which when Withered Freddy enters Camo 3, he stares directly into the camera, with one eye, the right eye, showing the sign of possession, with the other eye being a perfectly normal animatronic eyeball, which in FNAF 2 there's no mistaking it. These spirits have little control of their bodies, as they are all either fooled by the Freddy mask, deterred by the flashlight, or kept in a box by a music box. All things that are either programmed into them or are flaws in their design. Though what if there's more than just a spirit wanting out, but rather control of their body? Let's direct your attention to FNAF's sister location. On night 4, when you're stuck in that spring lock suit, Ballora gets hit a few times with the scooper. However, when she leans over, only her left eye is glowing yet again, and throughout the whole time she never moves once, not even when you get saved. Now this could just be the animatronic malfunctioning, or if you believe the MCI are in the fun times, this is a sign from the MCI yet again, that whoever possesses Ballora either wants control or wants out, but can't do anything due to the damage they've sustained. Though we still have a few bombshells we haven't spoken about yet. More so, with FNAF 3, there's an Easter egg in Cam 02, in which the Freddy poster changes into a poster of Spring Bonnie missing only his right eye. Now if you know anything about FNAF 3, William is in no way in control of Springtrap, as he is lured by the kid voices, just like a Springlock suit was programmed to do when in animatronic form.
For ease of operation, the animatronics are set to turn and walk towards sound cues. This is an easy and hands-free approach to making sure the animatronics stay where the children are for maximum entertainment / crowd-pleasing value.
Though this could just be a mistake by Scott, right? No, it wasn't, as Cam 10 has the Spring Bonnie poster and has both eyes, making this change intentional from Scott Cawthon. This trope even continues into the books such as the Stitch Wraith epilogues, as the Stitch Wraith, a character known for having its control issues between Andrew and Jake, is missing his right eye yet again. These two characters, Andrew and Jake, are always fighting for control of the suit, as Andrew wants to get revenge on William and Jake wants to help everyone move on. They sometimes end up fighting for control and even physically fighting at one point. So with the Stitch Wraith's right eye missing, this could be another representation of that. Though that's not the biggest bombshell we have, as Withered Circle found something that ties this theory together coming from the story, Step Closer.
Well, it seems that on the stream where we analyzed this mystery, I was the one that managed to put the final nail in the coffin, because the detail I found permanently solidifies this theory as being canon and intentional, at least in our eyes, and it all revolves around Step Closer, a novella from Fazbear Frights. In Step Closer, we're introduced to the Dinglewood family. No, I'm not making this up, our main character's surname is Dinglewood. Anyway, the story revolves around Pete Dinglewood, the older brother of Chuck Dinglewood. Pete thinks of Chuck as a spoiled brat and takes every opportunity to belittle him, even though he does care for him. Eventually, while trying to scare Chuck, Pete leads him to an out-of-order Foxy animatronic. However, something happens in Pirate's Cove as Foxy repeats the line, "You can be a pirate, but first you'll have to lose an eye and an arm," over and over again. Pete senses himself descending into a trance. He wakes up and everything seems normal, but it isn't. For the following days, Pete gets into a series of accidents where he nearly loses his eye, arm, or both. Eventually, as he heads to Freddy Fazbear's to put an end to the curse, he's hit by a truck and dies after losing his eye and arm. Or does he? Pete wakes up in a hospital room where a pair of doctors are dissecting him. Turns out his mother had signed out the whole family as posthumous organ donors, and somehow Pete is experiencing every single organ being removed. But he can't move, or make a sound. He's completely immobilized, losing control of his body. And that's where the story ends. Let's make one thing clear. Pete is absolutely a parallel to the Foxy bro from FNAF 4, aka Michael Afton, with Chuck mirroring the crying child. The connections to Foxy, the bullying dynamic between the two, it's all there. And while that's the main point people derive from the story, there's more to it than meets the eye. Specifically, in the ending. Notice how after losing his eye, Pete loses control of his body and his spirit is forced to watch everything that happens to him. Remember which eye Foxy is missing? The one that Pete would also lose? That's right, his right eye. The right eye being missing, the detail we've discussed throughout this entire theory ties back directly to this story. When I found this, my mind was blown. This is the piece of evidence that ties it all together, the definitive proof that we needed to consider this theory extremely likely, if not canon. This works because not only does the story tell a different version of Michael Afton's story, but it also correlates to the missing right eyes we see throughout this franchise, with Michael being one of the characters who loses his right eye after Sister Location. It all snaps perfectly into place, and solidifies the missing right eye as being symbolism for a spirit's lack of control, something that lines up nearly perfectly with everything we've seen thus far. But this theory, despite how solid it is, isn't without its flaws. I'll let Raven take back the stage and explain some of the issues right eye theory contains.
We have a few issues to go through here, so bear with me. With the bad ending, this could mean so many things. We know for sure the spirits have not moved on if we get this ending. However, could it mean more? Well, I don't think saying that this might mean they want control of their fates would hurt anything, though honestly, it's hard to say what they want or if this ending could mean anything more than it does. Ennard having his right eye partially covered could mean so many things, such as the MSI having partial control of Ennard, wanting control by letting Baby control them by choice, or absolutely nothing. So what it means, well, that's up to you there. With Michael having both eyes, losing an eye, then regaining both eyes, now that one is hard to argue against, as that is an intentional detail to put there, as the eye lost is the right eye, and we know during this time, Michael does not have control of his body, but obviously he wanted to come back to stop William, so to do this he needed control of his body. Next, I'm going to group our two pieces of Freddy evidence into one here, as who knows if these were planned in the two original FNAF games. However, we know Scott does do retroactive storytelling from time to time, so this could be one of them. The rest seem pretty intentional to do, so I don't know what their issues are. So let me know what issues you have with the theory in the comments down below. Just remember to keep it kind, calm, respectful, and that's just a theory. This theory is really cool as it gives us something we don't really have in FNAF, and it's wants and emotions coming from these characters, as on the surface they're just animatronics that are possessed with some angry spirits, but it also shows us the sadness and the constant struggle to just move on or have control of the bodies they now inhabit. Yeah, there's some stretches, but there's also some things that just feel like they're trying to push us in this direction so hard, so I have to give this theory an 8 out of 10. Now I'm going to pass it over to Withered Circle so you can get his final thoughts.
This find is very interesting, and that's for sure. I'm a sucker for hidden symbolism in media, and knowing that Scott has hidden such a cool detail in his story is a really good sign of how well thought out this entire lore story is. There's always the question of whether this addition was intentional or not, but I think it was. On FNAF 1's Night 5 phone call, we hear a garbled audio of Scott Coffin reading The Autobiography of a Yogi, a book that contains a lot of ideas for what Scott would implement into future lore, such as a concept very similar to Remnant, as well as the idea of the joy of creating. This book is based on beliefs stemming from Hinduism, and in that religion, the right eye has a very strong connections to souls and spiritual fulfillment. Since this autobiography is something we know Scott drew from, it's not out of the question that this is where the right eye symbolism came from. Overall, I think right eye theory is very solid, with a few hiccups that make it all the more interesting to think about. It's definitely something worth considering in future projects and FNAF content. Finally, thanks to Raven for having me on in both the original stream and this collab, for letting me yap a bit and say my thoughts on right eye theory. Bye.
Alright, and that is all that I have for this episode. So of course, thank you so much Withered for joining not just the live stream, but also this collab. It made it go so much quicker to get this out to everybody, and it's an absolute joy working with you. So if everyone watching this can go and subscribe to him, show him some love, tell him I sent you, it would mean the absolute world to me. So I have a couple things that I kind of want to get into that you all will want to stay for. As you know by now, I have a new upload schedule now that I'm done with all the other fun stuff with FNAF gameplays, and well, that includes 4 live streams in between uploads, maybe more because it depends if I do 1 or 2 theory videos a month. So what does that mean for the next coming weeks? Well, I do have a couple things planned now. The dates might change or things might get canceled or postponed, so none of these are set in stone, but here's what I do have planned at the current moment as of recording this in the beginning of May. So I have a Pizza Note stream with ID's Fantasy Gibby, and she's always nervous. I'm really excited for that one. I have a Glitch Attraction live stream coming. I have a FNAF Forgotten Pizzeria stream coming with a bunch of other FNAF tubers I still need to ask people about. And I also have a a UC and Node stream with Philly, Brave, and dual process theory planned. These are all the things I kind of have planned for the next 4 streams. However, remember, they can always change, adjust. Some things might come sooner, some might come later, some might get postponed, who knows. Well, that's pretty much what I have. So other than that, remember that these will be scheduled like a week ahead of time. I will also post my week schedule and everything like that on Sundays in my community posts on my Twitter, on my Blue Sky, and in the One More Night community server as well, if you'd like to go and stay updated, things like that. So yeah, that is all that I have for today. So as always, I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please do hit that like and subscribe button, as we have a goal of 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. While you're at it, comment down below really anything in the whole wide world. Just remember to keep it kind, calm, respectful, and that this is just a theory. Share this video with your friends and family, as every single bit helps. And without further ado, I hope you all enjoyed. Have a great day, stay safe, and peace out.